In this video, we are going to discuss about a very important topic that every data engineer must know, which is merge conflicts. This is one of the most common issues for data engineers while working collaboratively using Git repositories. In this video, we'll discuss what exactly is merge conflict with an example, and also we will see how we can resolve it using two different approaches, one using Azure Databricks and the other one using Azure DevOps in a more detailed manner. Okay, now let's get started. Firstly, let's understand what exactly merge conflict is. Let's see this with an example. Consider we have a Databricks workspace. So in this video, we are going to use Databricks as an example to understand merge conflicts, since it is one of the most commonly used tool by any cloud-based data engineers. Okay, now in this Databricks workspace, consider we have integrated Azure DevOps Git repository, and here we have two notebooks, Notebook 1 and Notebook 2. So this is the setup that we have currently. And now let's consider there are two data engineers, Data Engineer 1 and Data Engineer 2, who is working collaboratively with the same Databricks environment setup. One thing to note here is, the merge conflicts does not happen in all the situation when multiple data engineers works collaboratively with the same resources. Say for example, the data engineer 1 is accessing this Databricks workspace, creates a new feature branch, and makes changes to the Notebook 1. Similarly, the data engineer 2 creates another feature branch, and he is making changes to the Notebook 2. And now let's consider they're trying to merge their future branches to the main branch. In this situation, since both of them were working in different notebooks, there will not be any issues with the merge conflicts. So this is the first scenario. Now let's see the second scenario. And here, consider the data engineer 1 is creating a new notebook called Notebook 3 in his feature branch. And similarly, the data engineer 2 is also creating another new notebook called Notebook 4 in his own feature branch. Even in this case, there will not be any chance for merge conflicts when these changes are merged to main, since both are completely two different notebooks. Okay, now let's consider another scenario where both the data engineer 1 and the data engineer 2 is working on the same notebook, which is Notebook 1 in their respective feature branches. This is the only situation the merge conflicts will happen. The reason for this is, since both the data engineers are updating the same file, when they merge their respective changes to the main branch, the Git repository will not have an idea which changes needs to be merged to the main branch, whether the change done by the data engineer 1 or the change done by the data engineer 2. So there will be a conflict in the merge, and this process is called as merge conflicts. So in simple words, merge conflicts happen when different changes are made to the same part of your file and are merged to the main branch. I hope that makes sense. In this video, we'll see how we can handle merge conflicts in two different ways, and both are very important to understand for any data engineers. As discussed earlier, the first way is we can use the Databricks workspace to handle the merge conflicts. Let's see how we can do that. Firstly, as you can see here, I'm inside the Azure DevOps. Here I have a repository called Azure Tutorials. In this repository, currently I have just one branch, which is the main branch. And in this main branch, as we saw in the example earlier, we have just two notebooks, Notebook 1 and Notebook 2. Okay, now let's go to the Databricks workspace. And as you can see here, I have integrated this Azure Databricks workspace with the same Azure DevOps repository. So we have the same two notebooks in the main branch over here. Now, one thing to note here is, I'm accessing this Databricks workspace using the user called mrktalkstech@gmail.com. So as per our example, we can consider this user as the data engineer 1. Similarly, in another browser, I am accessing the same Databricks workspace using another user called tamil.mrktalkstech@gmail.com. We can consider this user as the data engineer 2. Now, with the help of these two data engineers, we are going to produce the merge conflicts, and after producing it, we will see how we can resolve the merge conflicts. Okay, now let's consider the data engineer 1 is making some changes. So for that, before making any changes, the data engineer 1 will first create a new feature branch based on the main branch. So for that, let's click on this main branch, and here you'll see an option called create branch. Let's click on it. Here we need to give a branch name. Let's give a name called feature/data engineer 1, just for an example. After giving the name, we can click on this create button over here. Okay, now the data engineer 1 have created a new feature branch based on the main branch. Okay, now let's consider the data engineer 1 needs to make few changes to this notebook too. So for that, let's open the notebook too. In this notebook, let's make a small change. I'll create a new cell in the bottom, and here I will add a comment called added by data engineer 1. So again, this is just an example so that we know who has done what changes easily to understand this example. Okay, after making this change, the data engineer 1 will commit his change to his feature branch. So for that, let's click on this branch. After clicking this, we can clearly see what are the changes the data engineer 1 has done in this notebook. After verifying the changes, we can give a simple commit message as added a comment. After that, we can click on this commit and push button to commit the latest changes to the feature branch. Okay, so now the data engineer 1 has made some changes to the notebook 2 and committed the latest changes to his own feature branch. Okay, now let's go to the data engineer 2's workspace. Now, for some reason, similar to data engineer 1, the data engineer 2 also wants to make some changes to the notebook 2. So for that, firstly, the data engineer 2 will create a new feature branch based on the main branch. Let's give a name called feature/data engineer 2. After giving the name, let's click on this create button over here. After creating the branch, the data engineer 2 will open the same notebook 2 to make the changes. Here, let's create a new cell, and this time, let's add a comment called added by data engineer 2. Okay, after making the changes, the data engineer 2 will commit the changes to his feature branch with the message added a comment. And then finally click on this commit and push button. Okay, so far what we have done is, the data engineer 1 has added a comment to the notebook 2 and committed the changes to his feature branch. And similarly, the data engineer 2 have made changes to the same notebook 2 and committed the changes to his own feature branch. So now for example, the data engineer 1 is going to merge his feature branch to the main branch. So for that, let's go to the Azure DevOps and create a new pull request. Here, let's click on this new pull request button. In the source branch dropdown, he will choose his own feature branch, which is feature/data engineer 1. If you go to the Files tab, you can clearly see the comment added by data engineer 1. So after verifying the changes, we can click on the create button over here. Now you can clearly see that we don't have any merge conflicts as part of this pull request. The reason for this is, since the data engineer 1 is the first person who is merging his changes to the main branch, the merge conflict doesn't happen because there are no changes happened in the notebook 2 after creating this feature branch. Okay, now let's click on this complete button to complete this pull request. And before completing this, we need to make sure that we check this delete feature branch option so that once this merge is completed, the branch will be automatically deleted, which is the best practice thing to be followed. Okay, now let's click on this complete merge button. Once the data engineer 1 completes this pull request, all his changes done in the notebook 2 will be merged to the main branch. To check this, let's go to the branches page, and here if you click on the main branch and open the notebook 2, you can clearly see that the comment added by data engineer 1. Cool, so the data engineer 1 have successfully merged his changes to the main branch. Now, similar to this, consider the data engineer 2 is also trying to merge his changes to the main branch. So for that, the data engineer 2 will create another pull request, and here the source branch would be his own feature branch, which is feature/data engineer 2. Here if you go to the file section, you can clearly see the changes done by the data engineer 2. Now, interestingly, if the data engineer 2 creates this pull request, he will face an issue called merge conflicts. So since this pull request is having a merge conflict issue, the data engineer 2 cannot complete this pull request unless and until this merge conflict is resolved. Okay, so as discussed earlier, the data engineer 2 is facing the merge conflict issue since the same notebook 2 has been edited by both the data engineer 1 and the data engineer 2. Now we are going to see how the data engineer 2 can resolve this merge conflict issue. So before that, one important thing to note here is, by default the Azure DevOps will not have any option to resolve the merge conflicts. You can clearly see we have just Overview tab, Files tab, Updates tab and Commits tab, but there is no option to resolve the merge conflicts. So since there is no option to resolve this issue directly via Azure DevOps, the first approach we are going to use is the Databricks Workspace to resolve this. So for that, let's go to the Databricks Workspace of the Data Engineer 2. To resolve the merge conflict using the Databricks Workspace, firstly we need to produce it inside this Databricks Workspace. So for that, firstly let's click on this feature branch. And now we need to try to merge the latest changes from the main branch to this feature branch. When you try to do that, we'll get the same merge conflict inside the Databricks Workspace similar to the Azure DevOps. But the only difference is there will be an option to fix this inside Databricks. Let's see how we can do that. So for merging the changes, let's click on this three dots over here. And now you'll see an option called merge. Let's click on it. And here there will be a drop down to choose the branch. In this drop down, let's choose the main branch. So basically what will happen now is, this will merge branch main into the future branch. And now if you click on this begin merge, we'll get a merge conflict and we need to resolve it. Let's click on this begin merge button. Cool, as you can see here, we are getting an error which complains about the merge conflicts. Now here in the bottom, you can clearly see what change is causing this merge conflict. We all know that the comment added by the data engineer 2 exists in this current feature branch, and the comment added by the data engineer 1 exists in the main branch. So to resolve this merge conflict, either you can keep this comment or you can keep this comment over here. Since the Git repository doesn't know what change should be kept in the main branch, we are getting this merge conflict issue. So in this case, we need to tell Git that what change needs to be merged to the main branch. So to decide that, there should be some kind of conversations that needs to be happen between both the data engineers. And depends upon the functionality and the priorities, they would need to come up with the decision of which change needs to be pushed to the main branch. And once the decision has been taken, we need to tell Git about what change that needs to be merged to the main branch. So to do that, here we have a drop down. Let's click on this. In this drop down, we have two options. One is keep all current changes and the other one is take all incoming changes. What this means is, say for example, if the change done by the data engineer 1 needs to be in the main branch, then we need to choose take all incoming changes option. The reason for this is, since we are merging the changes from the main branch to this future branch, all the changes that are already existing in the main branch is the incoming changes. So when you choose this option, all the current changes in this future branch will be discarded and all the existing changes from the main branch will be merged to this future branch, and therefore the merge conflicts will be resolved. On the other hand, if you want the change done by the data engineer 2 to be merged to the main branch, you need to select the keep all current changes option. After selecting this option and do the merge conflict will be resolved, and then we can complete our pull request to merge this change to the main branch. So I would like to get the change done by the data engineer 2 to merge to the main branch. So for that, let's click on this keep all current changes option and click on the continue merge button. After merging this, the merge conflict will be now resolved And we can check this by going to the pull request that we created earlier in the Azure DevOps. As you can see here, we now have a message called no merge conflicts in this pull request. And now if you go to the Files tab, you can clearly see that as part of this pull request, the change done by the Data Engineer 2 will be now merged to the main branch. So after verifying this, we can complete this pull request, and before completing it, make sure you have enabled this delete future branch option. And now if you click on this complete merge button, the changes done by the Data Engineer 2 will be merged to the main branch. So to verify this, let's go to the main branch and open the notebook 2. And as you can see here, we are just seeing one command called added by Data Engineer 2. I think now you have a clear idea of how to handle merge conflicts using the Databricks workspace. Okay, now let's see how we can resolve the merge conflicts using Azure DevOps itself. This is really useful since it can be used to resolve merge conflicts that occurs from different resources such as Databricks, Data Factory, Synapse Analytics, etc. But one thing to note here is, by default, the Azure DevOps does not come up with this feature. Instead, we have to configure an extension to perform this. Firstly, let's see how we can do that. If you go to the home page of the Azure DevOps, in the bottom left, you'll find something called Organization Settings. One thing to note here is, not everyone will have access to update the organization level settings. You may need to have higher level of access to do it. If you don't have sufficient permission, then you may need to reach out to your admin team to install this extension for you. Okay, now let's go to the organization settings page. Here in the left side, you'll find an option called extensions. Let's click on it. So basically, we have to install an extension from the marketplace over here. So for that, let's click on this Browse Marketplace button. As you can see here, we have a lot of extensions available in this marketplace, which we can install and integrate to the Azure DevOps. Among these extensions, I'm going to search for pull request in the search bar over here. As you can see here, there are a lot of packages available related to the pull request. And among these, we are going to install the first one, which is the official Microsoft extension. So let's click on it. As you can see here, this is a free extension, and we can install this by clicking on this Get It Free button. And after clicking it, we'll have an option to choose in which organization you would like to install this extension. So this is my organization name, and once we are happy about this, we can click on this Install button. Cool, as you can see here, we have successfully installed this extension to this organization. And to verify this, we can click on this Proceed to Organization button. And if we go back to the organization settings page and click on the extension option, now you can see the pull request merge conflict extension over here. Cool, so from now on, we can use the Azure DevOps itself to resolve the merge conflicts. Let's see how we can do that. Firstly, in the repository, currently we have just one branch, which is the main branch. So now, to test this, we need to produce the merge conflict issue similar to how we did it in the first approach. But instead of showing you the same step again in creating two new future branches using Databricks Workspace and making the changes, I will do it myself, and I will just show you how we can resolve the merge conflicts. So I will create two new future branches, and this time both the data engineers will add the same command added by Data Engineer 1 or added by Data Engineer 2 to the Notebook 1 instead of Notebook 2. Now consider, this time the Data Engineer 2 is the first person who is trying to merge his future branch to the main branch. So for that, he will create a new pull request, and in the source branch, the Data Engineer 2 will select his own future branch, which is future/Data Engineer 2 final. And here, if you go to the Files tab, you can clearly see the comment added by Data Engineer 2, which is in the Notebook 1. Once we have verified these changes, we can click on this Create button over here. After creating the pull request, we can clearly see that there will not be any merge conflicts since the Data Engineer 2 is the first person to merge his changes to the main branch. Okay, now we can click on this Complete button to complete this pull request. As usual, make sure the delete future branch is enabled, and finally let's click on this complete merge button. Nice, as you can see here, the merge is completed. So if you go to the main branch and open the notebook 1, you can clearly see the comment added by the data engineer 2. Okay, so now let's try to merge the future branch of the data engineer 1 to the main branch. So for that, again let's create a new pull request, and in the source branch, let's choose the future branch of the data engineer 1. Here if you go to the files tab, you can clearly see the added by data engineer 1 comment in the notebook 1. And now, as you all know, if the data engineer 1 creates this pull request, we'll get a merge conflict since both the data engineer 1 and the data engineer 2 updated the same notebook 1. Okay, now let's click on this create button. Cool, as you can see here, we are getting the merge conflict issue, and this time the conflict happened in the notebook 1. But interestingly, if you notice something here, this time we can see a new tab called conflicts. So we are seeing this conflicts tab only because we installed the pull request package, and by default it will not be available. And now we can use this conflicts tab to resolve the merge conflict using the Azure DevOps itself. Let's see how we can do that. If you go to the conflicts tab, you get a clear view of the conflicts. As you can see here, in the left side, we have the future branch, which is future/data engineer 1 final. In the right side, you can see the main branch, and this order is because we are merging the changes from this future branch to the main branch. Also, if you notice something here, in the main branch, the last update was done by the tamil.mr.k user, which is the data engineer 2. So it clearly explains, since the same notebook was updated already by the data engineer 2, we are getting this merge conflicts. Because the future branch in the left side is updated with the comment added by the data engineer 1, and the main branch in the right side is updated with the comment added by the data engineer 2. So to resolve this conflict, the same rules applies similar to the first approach. You can either merge this change to the main branch, or you can keep this change in the main branch. So let's see how we can configure that. So to resolve this conflict, let's click on this drop-down called More Actions over here. In this drop-down, similar to the Databricks Workspace, we have two main options. Firstly, we have Keep Hold Target Write File option, and when you choose this option, all the changes in the right side will be kept in the main branch, and all the current changes in the future branch will be discarded. Or instead, if you choose the Take Whole Source Left File option, all the changes from the left side will be merged to the main branch, and all the current changes which already exist in the main branch will be discarded. So this is the simple concept behind this. Also, if you notice in the bottom, it is clearly showing us what exact change is causing this merge conflict, which is really cool. Okay, now let's consider this time I would like to merge the changes done by the data engineer 1 to the main branch, which means that the change in the left side should be merged to the main branch. So for that, let's choose Take Whole Source Left File option. After choosing this, we are getting a warning message which explains once this merge is completed, all the existing changes which are in the main will be replaced completely by the changes done in this feature branch, which is specific to just the notebook 1 file. So let's go ahead and click on this OK button. Nice, as you can see here, we got a green tick mark, and if you go to the Overview tab, you can clearly see that the merge conflicts has been resolved successfully. So now let's complete this pull request by clicking this Complete Merge button. Nice, as you can see here, the merge is completed. And now if I go to the repos location and in the main branch, if I open the notebook 1, you can clearly see the comment added by the data engineer 1. I think now you have a clear idea of what is merge conflict, and also when this situation arises, how you can resolve the merge conflict using two approaches, one using the Databricks Workspace and the other one using the Azure DevOps itself. As said earlier, it is a very important topic to understand, and I hope this video helped you to understand this concept better. If you found this video useful, please like, share and subscribe, and see you in another great video. Until then, cheers, bye.